taper this week, I decided to treat myself a little bit by getting myself a pair of shoes that I've been looking at for a while. And I have been looking for another daily trainer to sort of complement the Endorphin Speed 4s. If you've been watching this channel, and if you are still watching this channel, and if you're new to this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff, please, because it really helps me out. And I put a lot of time into this outside of my full-time job. If you guys like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. Anyways, so I treated myself to a everyday running shoe that I think is going to be a great complement to the Endorphin Speed 4, which is really my favorite everyday running shoe. At the beginning of this block, I decided to splurge on the Asics Super Blast 2s, which I still have right here, and I like these shoes a lot in the beginning. As time has gone on, probably at about 100 miles or so, these shoes have turned from the Super Blast to the Super Bricks. And over time, they've just been a little uncomfortable on my feet. I haven't really liked them as much, even for like recovery pace and easy runs. I've just been looking for a different kind of do-it-all daily trainer, which is what these shoes are kind of billed as. So as you might have seen, I decided to go with the Adidas Evo SL1. So I'm 3 days into running with this shoe. I have done one easy run on Tuesday, which is about 9.5 miles. I did a speed session in it yesterday, and I just got done with a little bit more than 7 miles easy. These shoes, I'm a fan so far. Time will tell, because when I first started running in these, I said on this YouTube channel that I really like these shoes and I can't wait to keep running in them. Trainer, and I can't wait to keep running in these because I've really enjoyed them so far. Obviously that changed a little bit, but first impressions of the Evo SL1, I might like these more than the Endorphin Speed 4s. Listen, let me tell you something real quick. It doesn't matter if you're a runner, if you're a hybrid athlete, if you're into fitness. If you like to eat rice, please do me one favor. Invest in a rice cooker. It will change your entire life, I promise you. The amount of sweat that I lost on that treadmill tonight was actually insane. And then to jump straight into the sauna afterwards, I swear I sweated out probably a gallon of fluid. When I got done on the treadmill, it was a straight murder scene on that treadmill. Like sweat just, it was bad, bro. Today my goal was to progress down to about that 7:20 per mile, 7:10 per mile pace. But again, I kind of hit 7:30 per mile, and my effort level and heart rate was sitting at around 160. I don't know if it was hotter in that gym. I don't know if there was less air circulation. I don't know if it was more humid. And I know at the end of the day, watches are not accurate. That's not the end all be all of evaluating that run, but it's interesting to see that my effort level was higher at almost a slower pace than what I did the week previously when I was pushing more mileage and my legs were arguably way more tired during that run. It's interesting. I think the Evo SLs performed really well during that run. I'm starting to get a little more comfortable and kind of learn how to run in them now that I've put close to 40 miles on them this week. And I'm sort of trying to put them through every single run and every single sort of situation where I would use them this week. So I put them through an easy run. I put them through an easy run with some hills. I put them through a workout at marathon pace and half marathon pace effort. I put them through a tempo run on the treadmill. And I've been pretty pleased with how they performed on all of those runs. I'm not dealing with any sort of pain or irritation in my feet, my ankles, my knees, my hips. So I think these are going to slot into my rotation. I don't foresee them being a sort of a letdown like the Super Blast 2s were, just because I feel like I know what I'm getting with these shoes. They have a daily trainer feel. They're not max cushion. They are adequately cushioned but firm enough to where you can get that sort of propulsion out of them on a tempo run, on even a workout. I'm not gonna say they're the best workout shoes. Obviously I could throw on a pair of Alpha Flies and be like, okay, yeah, this is sick. And even though I never do these type of runs in super shoes, I remember what that 7:30 pace was feeling like towards the end of my first marathon prep, towards the beginning of this prep. And I look back on that and I think of where I'm at right now, and I'm just like, man, I have progressed so much. So yeah, I'm feeling really confident with how the week has gone so far. Even though I'm tapering, I'm still running 60 miles this week, and I feel that I still have the ability to build on my fitness this week, even though I'm cutting the volume ever so slightly. This Sunday is my last real and true long run of this entire prep. And like I've talked about before, marathon training is all about momentum. And I feel like coming off of what was probably my worst long run last Sunday, having a good week this week, and going into Sunday well rested, well recovered, legs feeling good, having a great long run on Sunday is going to be imperative for me and my confidence in this block. So tomorrow's going to be really easy, 4.5 miles, recovery pace, just to get the legs moving. Gonna crush it on Sunday. Let's go. Workout of this long marathon build, and I'm going to get into how I've approached my taper for this prep, how I've spent the last week and a half leading up to today really preparing for my race on Sunday. The 2 weeks leading up to your marathon can essentially make or break how you feel on race day. I really wanted to learn from my mistakes and be smarter about how I approach my taper for this prep, especially after all of the work that I put in. So today for my tune-up workout, I'm going to be doing 4 by 1200 meters with 400 meter recovery jogs after those reps. For those 1200 meter reps, I'm going to be targeting 640 per mile pace, essentially a little quicker than my marathon pace. And for the 400 meter recovery jog float, I'm going to be targeting a minute slower, so about 740 per mile pace. And also, like you saw in the intro, this is going to be my first run in my new shoes. Obviously, I've chosen the same shoes that I've been running in basically all prep. I didn't switch. I kept it with the Nike Alpha Fly 3. I felt like I've really discovered how to run in them and run in them more effectively, more efficiently. My running economy is better in these shoes than I felt like it was when I first ran in them. Even though I still want to experiment with different super shoes over time and in different races, I didn't see myself wearing any other shoe besides these. I mean, they're the Alpha Fly 3. They're regarded as one of the best, if not the best, by some. As the best marathon running shoes of all time, the fastest times have been ran in them. Realistically, running shoes are so individual, and I've never even ran in any other marathon-specific super shoe, so that I cannot say these are the best. I'm just saying these are what I like the best, and these are what I'm most comfortable in. I'm not going to switch up the week before my race and go get the Adios Pro 4s or something. Maybe in my next block, I'll try them out. We'll see. These Alphaflies are one of the new color drops for 2025. This is the white gridiron and pure platinum colorway. I think these are so tough, like this gray, like blue color. To be honest, I didn't really love the purple and pink colorway that much, but these were literally the only ones that were available on Nike.com at the time. I basically got these when almost like when they first dropped. Obviously, my old race day shoes are pretty beat up at this point. I basically use them as a session shoe. I needed a new pair of shoes. But these are what these are looking like after almost 200 miles. I felt like they started to lose a little bit of pop in the last 50 miles or so. And I remember what it was like running in these for the first time. That like springiness, that pop was absolutely sensational. Like I felt like I was running with legitimate moon boots on. I remember what it was like it was yesterday. So I'm really excited just to throw these on for some short reps, some easy running, just to break them in a little bit. It's gonna be about 7 miles of work. Get 7 miles on them and just have them fresh and ready to go for race day. I'm meeting my guy Danny out on Bayshore. It's my last run here in Tampa. Of course I'm doing it on Bayshore because where else would I go? I'm gonna see you guys out there and then get back to you guys later and discuss a little bit more about how I've approached my taper for this block.
I can't.
So in the past week and a half during this taper, I've reintroduced cold plunging. I essentially stopped cold plunging altogether in the week before my half marathon and all of my peak weeks after that. So if you look back on previous videos, I've been a pretty big proponent of cold plunging because I think it helps me a lot mentally as well as physically. I would do it after workouts, I would do it after easy runs. I would really just cold plunge just when I felt like it because it felt good. I wouldn't do it after lifts, but I would really try to focus on doing it after workouts. Cold plunging and sauning. As time has gone on, I've come across more and more of the research that basically says cold plunging can almost inhibit growth because it can reduce the inflammation in your muscles. So I basically stopped altogether, and I only reintroduced it last week because I knew I wasn't going to be gaining much, if any, fitness over the next 2 weeks during my taper. So I figured now would be the best time to hop back into plunging regularly because realistically I just enjoy it. I think it's fun. I think it helps me a lot mentally. So for my first marathon where I ran a 3:07, I decided to do a pretty aggressive taper and only do a 10-day taper instead of a traditional 2 or 3 week taper. And that's because I wasn't really that fatigued going into my last 3 weeks before my race. So I decided to keep everything pretty consistent up until 10 days before my race. However, during this prep, it's been a little bit different. I've been on this channel talking about how my legs had never felt more fatigued than in my peak week of this prep. So I decided after my peak week long run that I was going to take the traditional 3-week taper into my race, because I think I needed to let my body recover after this entire training block. In this training block, I've essentially strung together now 17 weeks of consistent training with no down weeks throughout that entire time frame, which in hindsight probably was a little bit too much. But I'm learning as I go, and I didn't suffer any injuries throughout that 17-week time frame other than a small shin splint literally within my first week of training. I felt pretty good throughout the entire block, but it has culminated into a lot of fatigue going into my peak week, so I decided to do the traditional 3-week taper, focusing on strictly decreasing the volume for the past 2 weeks, and then coming into this week, decreasing volume and intensity by only doing one workout in my midweek workout on Wednesday. So looking at 3 weeks out from my race, which is now 2 weeks ago, I wanted to decrease my running volume by about 10 or 20% from my peak week volume, which was 70 miles. So I ran 60 miles that week, still hit 2 workouts and a long run with some marathon pace intervals. 2 weeks out from my race, I wanted to focus on cutting my running volume between 30 and 40%, which resulted in me running a little more than 40 miles that week. I still had 2 workouts though, and I did a steady pace 12-mile long run just a week out from my race. This week, I'm only running about 17 or 18 miles leading up to my race on Sunday, and just doing one midweek workout, my 1200 meter repeats with a 400 meter recovery jog. I can confidently say that my legs have freshened up from my peak week fatigue levels, and I feel like I've built on my fitness even with a 60-mile week and still a 40-mile week going into this race. This week, all about recovery. I've really honed it in and focused on it. I'm about 72 hours out from my race. I can't lie, I'm nervous, I'm excited, but overall, and most importantly, I'm so happy and so thankful to be able to toe the line of this race 100% healthy, knock on wood. That something crazy doesn't happen within the next few days, but that's what I'm most thankful for. And I'm also thankful for whoever has watched to the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe, for being along with me on this journey. I can't thank you enough, and I will see you in the next video for my race video and my attempt to break sub 3 hours on the marathon. Thank you all. See you in the next one. Peace out.